just been executive session. A motion that we come out of executive session. It's been first. Got a second? It's been second. All in favor? We need a roll call.
Who seconded the motion?
Mr.
Hobbs is not a member.
Mr. Goins.
Oh, that's right. I'm a member of the committee.
Mr. Goins.
I did.
Okay. Roll call, Mr. Lavadane.
Yes.
Mr. Goins.
Yes.
Mr. Silver.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any other business coming from legal?
Madam Clerk, can you add to February 24th's agenda the introduction of an ordinance to terminate the following professional services agreements?
This has to be under unanimous consent.
That is correct. Do we have a unanimous
Come on
consent?
to February 24th?
No, just on the docket. Just putting on the
Put it on the
docket.
agenda
Oh,
for
for the
February
next?
24th.
Okay. That's in 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Goins?
No, I need to finish my ordinance.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Go Weems, Willis and Rosansky, and Trey Gist.
Is this for the legal committee agenda?
No, it's to be on the regular agenda.
Regular
Yes. The professional services contracts.
Anything else, gentlemen? Legal committee is adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, next I think we have utility committee, Mr. Fowler.
Yeah, I call to order the Utility Committee, Mr. Hobbs, Mr. Johnson, myself, members. Welcome, everybody. The first item is consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for water system improvements for the water department. The only thing that I was, I don't know if we have anybody from administration here, but I was going to ask what those improvements were, and but.
I think, Mr. Fowler,
Mr.
administration's given detailed written reports.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Several items that may be on there.
Was it in this folder I just got?
No,
There's a
in
handout.
this copy, there's a memo attached from Mike Morcott.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All righty. I just called it to the committee because I didn't know what the items were, and unfortunately, I didn't ask them to be here. It's my fault. But one is purchase leak detection equipment for the water department. It was bid, and I guess the low bid was $28,250 on that. Water well maintenance and rehab. One bid was received from Griner Drilling Services, and that was $668,848. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on that? Again, it's my fault for not asking the administration to be here. These were all duly bid and have come.
Mr. Fowler, the administration does recommend approval of both items, according to this memo.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I so move.
A second? All in favor? With there being no objection, we recommend the full council. The second item, I'm sorry?
No, I thought.
Okay, the second item is consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept low bid submitted on the 2009 water well maintenance and rehab project, and that's what I just read, I'm assuming. So, all right, again, administration has recommended this. Also move.
Second.
Second, without opposition, we recommend the full council. Is any other business come before utility? We adjourned.
Public safety, Mr. Silver. Mr. Goins, I apologize.
I call to order the Public Safety Transportation Committee. Present are myself, Mr. Silver, and Mr. Larvadan. The first item on the agenda is a motion to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for fire hydrants and related accessories for a 6-month period. Any discussion?
Is the mayor here? Somebody, excuse me.
No, I think they sent down a written report. In that written report, was anything,
Which booklet is this in?
did they submit anything in public safety?
They have comments.
There's a memo attached from Mike Morcott pertaining to this item, and it states the administration recommends approval.
What is it?
What form are you looking at?
It's in this packet.
It's fire hydrants.
Do we all have a copy of that?
Yes, sir.
I passed it out in the back. Where it was in the back, I don't know if everybody got a copy.
I received it.
That item's down there? Okay. We recommend approval and some discussion.
I don't have any.
Why don't we just go ahead and lay it over and we can have, so we can move the meeting? There's additional.
Do we have a motion to
discussion.
table it?
Yeah, let me make, that's my, yeah, I'll make a motion that we table. I don't have the documents in front of me.
Okay.
All in favor of Mr. Larbadan's motion?
I think you should just delay it, not table it.
Yeah, delay it.
Delay it?
It comes back again.
Okay. Let's make a motion that we table it.
Delay it.
Delay it?
Delay
it.
Delay it right now, I apologize.
Do we have a second?
Yes, yeah.
That item is delayed. Any other business to come before this committee? If not, this committee is adjourned.
Audit Committee, Mr. Goins.
Call to order the audit committee meeting. Present are myself, Mr. Larbadan, and Mr. Fowler. Item number 1, to discuss internal audit for all city departments.
This is a matter that let me say something, Mr. Goins, please. This is a matter that I brought, put on the agenda. I want, since the administration's not here, I want an internal audit to look at all divisions. I want them to look at credit card purchase, travel vouchers. I want them to look at the entire budget to make sure that we're spending the taxpayers' monies wisely. I think once we get an audit, we'll be in a position where we'll know where money is located, ways we can cut, ways we cannot cut. But that's why I put them, because I want to get a better financial picture of our city, what we're doing. We realize that we're in a difficult financial crunch with tax revenue, but we want to be economically feasible and be smart with our money and be conservative. So that's why I've decided that we need to put an audit so we can have a good financial position in what's going on.
Councilman at Large Johnson.
Oh, yes, I think that's a great suggestion coming from Mr. Larbadan and his committee, and also you as chairman, Mr. Goins. And one of the things I think that needs to be done is that we have a timetable put on this audit to also come back and know where we are at budget time.
It's my impression that the administration at present is conducting internal audits throughout the city and in each department. It falls under their responsibility and has asked for our consideration, and in due time they'll report to us. Some of these things may involve litigation, possible criminal activity, and so forth, and I don't think it'd be wise to have an open forum on that at this time. Also, as far as an internal auditor is concerned, we walked this ground before many years ago. If we do put an internal auditor on staff, which we can do, it would be a civil service position, and that auditor would answer to the mayor. So this is granted. We already hashed this out in the past, and that's the determination at that point.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. We'll now hear from Ms. Dawn Jennings.
Thank you, Mr. Goins. Appropriate at this time, a discussion on wasting money. This morning, you all saw 2 articles in the newspaper, one of which discussed the mayor and his staff hiring a private detective to follow me on December 10th. I can't say how ridiculous, how sleazy, how irresponsible these actions were. And it was even more disgusting to me when I realized that on December 10th, I was at Rapides Regional Hospital admitting my grandmother into the hospital. I went there with her at 9 a.m. or so. She was admitted at 12:26 p.m., and I stayed there with her until 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. that night. I don't know who the mayor's cousin followed, but it was evidently not me because I did not come to work that day at all, and I reported it to the secretary that morning to let her know that my grandmother woke up that morning with a condition that obviously required immediate medical attention, and I, as her primary caretaker and her only relative in the city, took her to the hospital, and that's where I remained the rest of the day. I was not at CC's Pizza, and I was not at a mechanic shop. So I don't know who the mayor's cousin, detective, whomever he is, who he followed, but the report is obviously not correct. It was not me, and it's ridiculous that the taxpayers' money is being wasted on following employees when we have drainage problems, when we have crime problems, and the fact is, all of this is about the fact that minority business participation for last fiscal year was 1%. And we can try all the smoke screens and we can distract away from what the real issue is, but that's what the real issue is. And I was responsible for trying to increase that along with the mayor's support and along with Ms. McGill's support and the rest of the staff, and I never got it. So hiring a detective to follow me isn't gonna make that go away. And I thank you, Mr. Goins, for allowing me to share that with everyone. Particularly, I'd like to thank the Town Talk for putting all of this out in the open and giving me the opportunity to show once again how I am being retaliated against by the administration because I won't say or I won't be or I won't behave the way that you think that I should. But I was a good employee to the mayor. I was not disloyal to the mayor by telling the truth. I was loyal to the citizens of Alexandria, and I was loyal to myself as a person. Thank you, RT. And you know, the report was leaked to the Town Talk. It should have been a personnel matter, but it was leaked to the Town Talk, and now it's very open that it was wrong.
Thank you, Ms. Jennings.
Mr. Goins, could I respond to that brief?
Certainly.
And let me just address the last thing she said first. The investigative reports were not leaked to the Town Talk. Mr. Morgan made a public records request, and pursuant to that request, I produced those portions of the file which are public records. The City of Alexandria has always used private detectives. We primarily use them in our workers' comp fraud cases where there are allegations by an employee that they're injured, and then we catch them on the weekends on video picking up pianos and things of that sort. So there's nothing unusual in the spheres of public or private employment about the use of private investigators. Risk management falls under my division, the legal division, so I would be the person responsible for authorizing all use of private investigators. The actual reports I have in front of me here now, there are 4 of them, and if the council would like to view those, I can make copies of them today. Ms. Jennings' assertions that this is retaliation it's just simply not the case. We do this routinely in cases where we think there's employee misconduct at issue. The reason why I authorized this is because I knew that this day would come when Ms. Jennings would try to make this a racial issue. So I had an independent person tail her and video her for several months during this period of time, which we believe she wasn't doing any of her job responsibilities. If y'all would like to see these reports, I'll be glad to give them to you. All the surveillance that was done on her was done in public areas so that if you were standing on the sidewalk, you could have seen the same thing. Julie Campbell documented the times that she came to work. It was never before 10:30 on any given morning. She was never at City Hall for more than an hour and a half each day. If you look at all these reports, you'll see that she's going to the hairdresser, she's going to the gym, she's going to the mall, she's paying her personal bills. This is all on City time.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Johnson.
No. She made this an issue.
No.
We should be able to respond to it.
No, but what I'm going to say, I got a point of order. I'm not going to sit here and allow a personnel matter
she
to be
made
discussed.
This a public issue,
I'm talking
Mr. Lawson. She put
I'm not going to allow a personnel
into
issue.
public domain.
Mr. Johnson.
We should be able to respond. This should not be a one-sided debate.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes, sir.
I'm talking. I don't want to hear, if it's the wishes of this body to overrule it, that's fine, a personnel issue here, and I do understand what you're saying. I don't want to hear about beauty shop visits. You said your point. I want to get to the specifics. I do want to know, if we're hiring investigators, I mean, I just find it peculiar when we're at will state, if you feel uncomfortable with an employee, it's the prerogative of that person to terminate the employee. But,
Certainly right.
Of course, I understand, but I just don't want, when this council starts getting into personnel issues and you making accusations about an employee,
Ms. Lawson,
then I think it puts us in a curious
I'm not making
precarious situation.
accusations. These are the reports right here. If you'd like to see the videos, you're welcome to do that also. Everywhere she was surveilled was in a public place. She had no expectation of privacy anywhere where she was under surveillance. And Mr. Morgan has the reports. He selectively chose to print the portions of it that he wanted to, but if the public wants to see this, it's available to you.
Just as a point of clarification, gentlemen, I would like to point out that the date of the December 10th surveillance was December 10th, 2007, not December 10th, 2008.
Mr. Fowler.
Just a minute. I have the floor, I believe, Ms. Jennings. This obviously is a personnel matter and a difference of opinion between a previous employee and administration. This is not the venue that this should be aired in, first of all. I think that Ms. Jennings has had her say. I think the administration has had their say. No, ma'am. And I do not think that any more discussions should be allowed at this time about that. If Ms. Jennings wants to talk to the town, talk to other folks, she may do so.
I have one final comment, Mr. Goins.
I request that no more of this be held in front of this council. This is not the proper venue for it. Again, I ask that we cease this right now. Both sides have had their say in response, and we should not allow this ever again.
Any other business to come before this committee? I move that we adjourn.
Economic Development Committee, Mr. Silver.
Okay, then. Is Kay here? Could you ask her to come back, please? Now,
Always be careful what you ask for.
I have to confess that I'm a little bit disappointed and surprised at the general tenor of the meeting and the chain of events from a standpoint of knowing what we can or cannot hear, which is all written, documented form from the administration. I personally prefer bodies and hardly recommend that going forward that we do have a representative from the administration. Our job is merely to legislate. Their job is to administrate, and I would like each one to remember that. The first item is the Q on the red, and I think in the bulletin it mentioned they can send up to $75,000, $35,000. Under, who's here to discuss the Q on the red?
Why is administration here?
Administration,
I want
so we can't answer no questions.
There's a memo from Ms. Lisa Harris stating,
it mentions the fact that
the contracts.
Lisa Harris has it, but I'm looking for it. I can't read that fast to conduct the meeting. I just had this about 2 minutes ago. What is the number again? I had it earlier when I did all my homework, and I have it now. Number what, please?
Send number what?
Item number 1 on reference to the Q on the red. I read all these over the weekend. I didn't write numbers on all these notes.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Will somebody from the administration come down and talk about it? I've got some questions on Q on red.
Well, we went over a lot of this the other day. A lot of us have questions on it.
I think on the fact sheet, Chairman Silver, is that I think to sit down based on number 1, a list of the contracts of 2009 for the barbecue festival.
No, but I'm not talking about that. It was a question of whether or not we are going to all the contracts. I think this should be put on hold, and she comes in case we have any questions with your permission.
Well, we can hear if we have somebody address the issue, but then come back and hear the administration's response to the response.
Did you want, do you want to say something about Q on the red? I'm listening to you. Would you please? Thank you.
Thank you, council members, for allowing me to speak. My name is Sterling Terrell Brown. I'm here. I'm a original resident of Alexandria, Louisiana, and I was one of the original organizers of the Queuing on the Red Fest, and I think it originated in 2006. At the time, I was called by Mr. Lawson and several other council members back then to help put this the entertainment aspect of it together, and I did so by booking the Commodores and handling all of the entertainment aspect of it as far as with the stage and sound and everything. And all of a sudden, I have been completely X out of the box. This year, I got word from several council members that a band was going to be booked, and I brought this band here myself with my own personal money with no help from sponsors or anybody back in 2005 for Juneteenth celebration, and it was a fairly successful event with this band. This year when I found out late November, early December what band was going to be that they were trying to book, I spoke with Ms. Lisa Harris, the community service director, and discussed several things that would take place with booking this band. And I told her that they would be charged extra by going through a booking agency, whereas you can call me and I'm right here locally. I can get the job done right here by making one phone call, working whatever deal needs to be worked up according to the budget that is appropriated for this event. And I did so after she got a phone call back saying what they were trying to charge her. And I told her that I'm going to save you as much money as I possibly can, in which I did. In the same deal that I worked in one phone call directly to the manager of the band.
Okay, I have to cut it off, and I'll tell you why. Number one, we're not going to do anything until we speak with Lisa Harris. I would urge you, because we're not going to control what you do, I would urge you to speak with her, and we in turn are going to give full-fledged explanation.
Well, I've tried to speak with Mr. Silver, and it turned into a confrontation over the telephone about a week ago. And the thing of it is that I'm here to try to, get one point across. I'm a taxpayer here. I have a legitimate business, and I can get jobs done just as well as the casino or any other booking agency,
being
whether they're New York,
repetitious,
California,
I don't want to be
anywhere.
disrespectful. It's going to be her baby to come back and bring us up to speed. Is that Lisa?
Yeah.
Mr. Brown, Ms. Silver, maybe before you continue, did you have, with administration and working with Ms. Harris, did you have a written contract based on your duties that you offered in working with music entertainment for this event?
Well, at the time when we discussed it, we were in Lowe's, and I told her whatever came about with that, let me know what comes about if they do try to charge you extra. She called me back about 2 days later, and we discussed what needed to be taking place, and I asked her just as well as she asked me, do I have your word on this? She told me, yeah, as long as everything is done legitimately. And I said, well, I'm not going to make no phone calls for nothing because I don't want to get used. So after that, she told me to make the phone calls. Now, this is me talking to Lisa.
So.
Okay, can I mind if I cut it off?
Okay, go ahead.
I hate to be,
Yeah,
I ask that you please sit down because
All right.
Lisa's here and I like her. The first item on there is concerning all contracts for the 2009 barbecue fest, Q on the red. You might highlight it, and because we did move that briefly the other day, and I prefer, since you're in charge, that you bring us up to speed.
Yes, sir. I did give, I sent a report that listed the current contracts that we have. A lot of the contracts have not been signed yet. We are still in negotiation, and it's not only the music contracts. There are some other vendors that we will be using for the festival, but some depends on others. So we don't have all the contracts just yet signed.
Well, I don't know who requested this, but I think this will give you have a couple of weeks. I think you can bring us up to speed. At that time, we still have plenty of time to get them lined up. Am I not correct?
Yes, sir. But if you don't mind, Mr. Silva, I'd like to speak on the booking of the music. And from the beginning, and I know Mr. Lawson and well, everyone except Mr. Silver, Mr. Goins, and Mr. Larvadan were here when Queuing on the Red started. And from day one, Community Services has been the organizer of the festival. Yes, the first year of the festival, we used FSB Entertainment to book the Commodores. They did not provide stage, sound, and lighting. That was from Stage Pro, a company that did that. We have enlisted the help of community volunteers, which some of the council members have recommended members of those committees to that committee. It is a diverse committee. We use community volunteers as well to serve as the music committee, and they give us ideas or potential bands that we can actually bring to the festival. I am, per se, I guess if you want to call, the booking agent for the city. I take out that third party that the city would have to pay that extra money to. When I contacted Mr. Brown this year in regards to Mays, which he did bring Mays, and I'm not sure the exact date when he had in the past, I did contact him. Well, actually, we ran into each other casually in a store, and he said, I understand that Mays is coming, and I said yes. And he asked if he could be the person to book them. Well, I had already contacted an agency, and I didn't think it was a professional thing for me to go back off of that written offer that I had given them. I did state to him, if it did not work out, I will come back to you and allow you that opportunity to book them. Mr. Brown told me, let me know. He would, and I'm only taking this from him, and I also talked to the booking agent that he would go to. I just took out that middle person that saved the city money. I contacted the booking agent who was listing Mays, and I negotiated that contract, which was not an additional $15,000. If he can show me his contract, I can show him mine. I think we're tap for tap what we paid. It was not an additional $15,000. I have the same stage company that we've used from year one. We're contracting with them again. I don't have their contract because they're waiting to talk with the tour managers as far as sound, what they're going to need. Once I get that, then I'll know what I have to pay to that stage company.
But, Mr. Chair, you left, I had a conversation last night with you at the community center, and you left option open that, which I do think Mr. Brown adds value to this festival. He was intimately involved in the original, and I think you left the option open for him to come in and continue to work with you. And I think what we need to do is see in 2 weeks if they can sit down and figure out what makes sense to help promote the festival in the interest of the ratepayers or the taxpayers.
Are you speaking about the advertising, the flyer disbursement?
Well, whatever it is.
In the minority community?
Promoting.
I mean, Mr. Lawson, you know, we do advertising, radio advertising in the areas that we feel are going to reach those individuals. I'm not purposely, and neither is the music committee, excluding Mr. Brown. Actually, the year after we used him for the Commodores, I went back to him again for another service with the festival. We do not purposely, and I want everyone to know, I do not, and no members of that committee purposely exclude anyone who can offer the service. I just felt as an employee of the city that it was better for me to go ahead and handle it, and I'm already on payroll, as opposed to add an additional fee. And you know, maybe his comment was, I don't know what I'm doing, but you know, for 4 years I've been doing it. I may not be doing it perfect, but I've been doing it.
Well, I repeat, will 2 weeks give you an opportunity to get enough back?
If you would tell me, Mr. Silver, exactly what it is you want, I will give you the report.
The only thing I want to report is what your general plans are and what our contribution will be towards the queue on the red, so we can endorse it and get the necessary.
Are you meaning financially? And it's in the budget. I think y'all have approved $100,000.
Ms. Harris, is there any capacity that FSB Entertainment can serve in with this year's Queuing on the Red?
What he does, Mr. Goins, is book bands, and we've booked them.
Okay, what about any artistry work?
I'm sorry.
Any artistry work, any advertising? Are there any services in regards to the concert that can be offered by FSB?
Here again, I'm asking if that's what Mr. Lawson is referring to, distribution of flyers.
Well, I'm asking for you two to get together, you know, and Mr. Brown's question, Mr. Brown, Mr. Goins' question, not to shut. I want the two of you get together, and he can tell you what he can do, and you can tell us whether it makes sense between the two of you, and come back and if it fits, it fits. I mean, I think he does more than flyers.
And he's never proposed that to me either.
It's your
That's right. And let him come back.
We'll be governed by that. Now, while you're up here,
Let me say something.
I'll look at number. No, I want to get.
Let me say something real quick. Let me say something real quick.
Real quick.
It's coming real quick. Ms. Harris, when you come back in 2 weeks, also tell us what's your media budget, and tell me how you're advertising. Will you be doing things on
I can answer that now. The media budget, GATA has been gracious for the last 3 years to provide financial support for advertising. That amount is in $30,000. The state of Louisiana, through the tourism office, has given us money up to $10,000 is what they've told. When I wrote that grant was specifically for advertising. So I have a total of $40,000. We advertise Lafayette, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, and that's just not radio. We do radio, billboard, newspaper advertising. I mean, it runs the gamut, but we do not spend locally. We do spend locally, but when this festival was created, when I was asked years ago to create it, it was to help give an Alexandrian identity. I'm not forgetting local advertising, but I want to bring in people from outside, and the way to do that, Mr. Larvadan, is to let them know what's going on, and that's why I advertise outside the area.
I thank you for your answer, but I also want you to consider the local media, the Light,
I do every
Tony
year.
Brown,
Every year.
the newspapers,
Every year.
everybody.
I'll give you a report every year of what I've spent with them.
Show me what you're gonna do in 2 weeks here, and I want to see how much, who's getting what.
And actually, those those advertisers that you spoke of, a couple of them, I haven't gotten proposals from. I asked that everybody give me a proposal.
2 weeks, huh?
2 weeks, we'll get
Wait 1 minute while you're there.
Yes, sir.
Number 3 is an update concerning the spray pad in Cheatham Park. Have you had anything?
We actually, there was a pre-construction meeting a couple weeks ago. We've started construction on all 3 pads. You may drive by City Park and see some activity going on there. Petron was awarded the contract. I think on the report I gave, it's a 145-day contract period. We have Brenda Ray's Department of Community Development contributed some funding for the restrooms, and we've already ordered those. And depending on that, we can't give a solid answer, but the goal is to have the pads ready for the summer.
In Cheatham, you will have, there won't be porta-johns.
No, sir. These actually, Cheatham will not get a restroom. The only ones that will get a restroom are, I'm sorry, they will. They will get a, yes, they will. And they're not porta-johns. They're actually, I don't have a photo of it. It's a building. It's not a.
And that may be separate and apart from the spray park. I think we did.
It is. It's off adjacent to the pad. And
fast track.
also keep in mind the Harmon Park and the Cheatham Park structure. You will, when you drive by it, you won't know it's a spray pad. It's just the water and it's censored. So the city park would actually have the features that you can drive by and see that. We didn't want to have that distraction in front of the school.
In Cheatham Park, where exactly will the spray pad be? Where the playground is right now?
It's to the left-hand side of that playground. It would sit, it's close to the playground area, but it's actually in front of the school.
It's right in front of the school.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of centered?
Yes. And they will not be porta-johns. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You want to say one comment and then?
Yeah, speaking on that, I just don't only do booking the bands, I do advertising also. Here, we did 2 events. I just wanted to pass this and y'all can keep these. It has the city of Alexandria on there. We did 2 Juneteenth shows together. Also, I have other artwork that I do myself, past events. I asked a question about the logo design for the Q on the Red. I did a public records request on early last week about the logo design for the Q on the Red Fest, and from what Ms. Harris told me, they only use 1 company, and it's not a contract that's bid out on it, and it's by KJA. Only thing I'm trying to figure out is that my company is involved in several things other than radio advertising,
That's enough
TV.
now.
And
You've had your time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I'm
We
just
don't,
trying
we
to.
can't, I can't have.
Harry, let him make his statement, then he can leave. Go.
Yeah,
just
the
short
only
it up
thing is
real
that
quick.
I'm trying to say is that I have a business here that offers more than just booking bands. We advertise, we market, we do all kind of things, and I just want the same opportunities that these other companies have here in this city. The original price on Frankie Beverly Mays, when Lisa told me about it, she called me and told me it was $75,000. I said that's too much. I can work the deal at $60 plus the $5,000 booking fee, which is the same deal that she got, but it took that guy 3 times to do it, and I did it in 1 phone call, and I'm right here.
Mr. Brown, do you think you can get with Ms. Harris
Yes.
next couple of days?
Yeah, I don't mind.
I
And
think
iron
y'all
out,
gonna work something out.
yeah, iron out any wrinkles that, exist.
Now,
Thank you.
okay, there's a little notation about update on bus benches and signs. I don't propose
What
to
about
discuss
number
that.
2?
Is this,
I have nothing on that.
we don't have anything on that,
Yeah.
so
What
I
did
get an
what was
answer.
the comment on number 2,
You know anything about?
Nancy? We need to go ahead and get the membership. We have the stimulus money, it may or may not be coming down, but we need to go ahead and get the AC board react. Do we have any names yet?
No, sir,
What's the comments on it?
Jeff Hall was supposed to get with me today, but I didn't hear back from him.
So the outstanding appointing bodies or what?
We need 1 from the Chamber of Commerce, 2 from the police jury, and 3 names from the mayor.
Meeting? Did you not send a request to them to do that?
Yes.
Okay, well then just follow up on it.
And make sure, let me know which ones are not responding by the next meeting, because we need to go ahead and appoint those members to the board. That's why I put it back on there. Thank you.
Okay. I think while we're here, I'd like to knock out one thing from the standpoint of time. Who's here again on the preservation? Did you say you're prepared? Let's do that too, so we can fold something. I hate to go out of order, but we're
Which
trying to
item is
save
that?
time. Under Public Works. We want to adjourn by 7 o'clock, because I think we have an important meeting tonight.
Yeah, flood,
Wait, you want to close? Anything else on economics? If not, we'll stand, that'll be
Mr.
adjourned.
Silver, for the record, the 4th item is a report on the bus benches. It's in this red folder from the administration.
You can read it, it's a no expense deal, so go ahead, that's...
on,
Let her go with the
well,
Public Works.
go ahead. Where you jumping committee's hair?
I jumped the committee. Quick, go ahead, take your time, as long as you're out of here in 4 minutes.
Okay.
That's a good.
I apologize, I'm not getting time.
Yes, sir. I like visuals. That's good, Melinda.
Good. We'll be a bright spot in this meeting. Mr. Silver and Councilman, thank you for having me here today. My name's Melinda Anderson, and I'm with Historic Preservation for the City of Alexandria. So most of you I've met with, Mr. Goins and Mr. Larverdane. I have not had an opportunity to, but this will bring you up to speed, and I'll go through it fairly quickly as to what we do. And basically, the Historic Preservation Commission is appointed by the mayor and approved by the council, and the members are volunteers, and we preserve and attempt to preserve the unique architectural character of our older neighborhoods and historic buildings. We feel that these buildings are linked to the cultural community, and it ensures that we will retain our unique architecture and cultural identity for the future. If we lose these buildings and neighborhoods, they're gone forever, and you cannot reclaim that. By celebrating this identity, we make a place where people really want to live and work. If you'll look at the district map that I have in your, I know I gave you a lot of information, but that's just kind of what I do. There's a Councilman District and Historic District map that's overlaid. The 1, 2, and the 3 are our 3 historic districts. The first district is the historic, the original town site, which is from the Red River to the I-49, bound by Rapides and Cason Street. That's the downtown area. The Historic District 2 is what I refer to as the Bolton Avenue area. It was originally a separate city. It was West Alexandria, and it's Bolton and I-49 by Monroe and Lee Street. The Historic District number 3 is what we refer to as the Garden District. Within this area is also a National Register neighborhood district. It's recognized by the National Park Service because of the architecture within that area. It's quite an honor to have this National Register district within our city. Some of the activities that we have been working on, I'll go through them fairly quickly. You each got this Bolton Avenue revitalization project. I applied for and got a grant from the National Trust for Historic Preservation out of Washington, D.C., and with a match from the city, which you all approved, we produced this product, and it just shows the beginnings of what could be on Bolton Avenue, and we think it's very, very important. The Historic District Survey is probably one of the coolest things that I think that has been accomplished over the last 2 years. With the support of the administration and the council, we have been able to contract with Chris Williams to do an electronic digital historic survey. You all received Historic District 1 and 2 in a disc in your packets. If you would like, you can just put them in your computer and they're interactive. You can't really see it that well, but each of these black dots on the map of each district, you can roll over, and there's property information and there's also historic survey information. This product or tool is going to be quite something to use, that the city can take what we've done with the historic survey and they can layer additional information such as sewer and water and electric. This is a document that will become a state document at the State Historic Preservation Office once it's complete. We've completed 1 and 2 and are starting on 3. And this is one of the things that's required for us to do in the application process for the Main Street program, for Louisiana Main Street. The Bringhurst Golf Course, we've been involved from the early start with the conversations with the Brame family on the community, Friends of Bringhurst. We worked with Public Works and the Traffic Department to do the new temporary sign, which was a really big improvement from the old sign that was there. And we're now working with several entities to work on the possibilities of saving the historic Clubhouse Cottage. And
that was never a clubhouse.
All right. This slide will show some of the work that's been done. The Brame family and Friends of Bringhurst have done a tremendous amount of work financially with getting local organizations and individuals to contribute money to this. And we think it's great because it's a historic golf course. Probably the thing that I'm most proud of is the Cotton Brothers Red Cross building project. This was from my very first day on the job. It has been a 22-month-long process, and it's still ongoing. Many of you were at the ribbon cutting for the Red Cross to announce that it was moving forward. Our role in that was to provide critical information on the historic tax credit program, which is going to provide tax credits of up to 25% of the final project cost. This is a $1.5 million renovation that's happening on Bolton Avenue within our historic district that brings a local historic landmark back into commerce, and it saves that piece of history. We are very, very, very excited about this and the potential and the possibilities for the future of Bolton Avenue and that whole corridor. So, and I do have one picture where it was when it was the Continental. So, the Weiss and Goldring building, we were involved in discussions and possibilities for this building when Councilman Silver was selling it, and we provided historic tax credit information, incentives, and it's associated with this historic preservation to the potential buyer. This is a huge footprint, almost 3/4 of a block downtown Alexandria, located directly across the street from the Hotel Bentley. So we feel like it's, excuse me, very, very important. And it has been noted that it could be application to the National Register as well. The Armour Building, many of you remember we were involved with the federally mandated Section 106 public meeting. And we also helped facilitate the donation of this historic building from Inner City Revitalization to the Historic Association of Central Louisiana. We feel strongly that this building can be a part of the Lower Third revitalization. It's a tremendous building, and it's over 100 years old, and a local organization is taking care of the re-roof of it, and I think by the 2 weeks from now, they should have the final architectural work on the new roof for this. So we think that this building is definitely worth saving. And it was deemed eligible for National Register listing. We've also, I've worked in collaboration with the Louisiana History Museum and Dale Genius, all the Alexandria retrospective videos that you see on Channel 4. You're probably tired of now, but we'll get some new ones out. These videos have been an advocacy and education tool that have been extremely well received by the community. Preservation Alexandria, we developed an email advocacy group that have over 190 members. If you're not getting my Preservation Alexandria emails every now and again, please make sure I have your email, because it just is general downtown historic preservation information. We have also worked with private property owners and neighborhood groups and to help people with historic preservation information and education. We were also involved with looking at the stone bridges behind City Park. This was a really cool day. The traffic and signs, we put up the beginning of the distinctive signage for the National Register District. I'm almost through. Since September of '07, we have been featured in 28 articles, 9 of those which were front page, and we feel that this demonstrates the local interest and importance of historic preservation. We have a website that I encourage you to visit. It's a really good website, alexandriahpc.org. We have a distinctive logo. We also successfully nominated 3 properties in Alexandria to the Louisiana Trust 10 Most Endangered list: Cotton Brothers, Shiloh Baptist Church, and Thompson Hargis Mansion. Still working on what to do about Shiloh, but Cotton Brothers we've done, and Thompson Hargis is still there. So, one of the things that I have talked to Mr. Lawson about, we will be hosting at the end of April the 30th Annual Louisiana Preservation Conference here in Alexandria. We're very excited about that, and you all will be receiving more information on that. We have secured a nationally acclaimed speaker, Donovan Ripkema, who I included in your packet a copy of one of his articles, and he is all about historic preservation is economic development. It's bringing business to all different aspects of the community. So we look forward to having you all involved in our conference. We have worked successfully with the list of local groups and organizations, and feel that we've been pretty successful. So that's it. Do you all have any questions for me? I feel like I've talked very fast.
Melinda's done a great job, and I'll tell you, she's indefatigable in her energies, because many times she's met with adversity, and for the most part, she's batting pretty close to 1,000. Now, you're going to get a few kicks, but keep work. And the last thing that you were talking about, namely that the new Red Cross building on Bolton Avenue, I think will be quite a deal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Paul Smith is here if you want to recognize him. Say hello from the Historic Association.
You have anything to say? Just keep it up. Well, just a minute, God damn it. I also I'm backing up one moment, either on Public Works or Economic Development. Even though the entire administration is not here, I am going to request that perhaps on alternate weeks, we have a report on Fast Track one time and Spark the alternate week, so that we know what we're doing, where we're going, how it's working out. Tom David, are you in with Public Works, or are we going?
Lawson asked me, we're here to talk drainage.
Okay.
I think.
And I think we're through with our group. Is that all right?
Yes, I think so.
You want to go into finance with?
If you don't mind, I'd like them to come up. I know Mr. Willis and Mr. David have been long enough. I didn't know you want to go first, right? We'll get age before beauty. Tommy? Tony looks like Richard Gere.
You think you look like Denzel Washington, too?
After 2 or 3. Oh, yeah. Wanted to recognize before we leave out with the Lieutenant Governor's office, not Lieutenant, the Attorney General's office, Mr. Fuller, and certainly recognize our distinguished, thank you, Mr. Laverdane, state representative that represents the city of Shreveport, Mr. Patrick Williams, and Mr. Reverend Dr. Joe Green has found the money. He's sitting next to him. He gets all the state appropriations. Thank you for coming, Representative Patrick Williams. Mr. Chair, while we send him, I want to go ahead and preface this by saying there's been a lot of talk about drainage. These two guys have solutions. I appreciate them taking the time from their busy schedule to show us some insight as to how to address these issues. I will say this, I think that wisdom ought to tell us that our priorities, in addition to crime, ought to be putting our money towards satisfying the drainage issues that our citizens have been faced. And Mr. Chair of Finance, I expect the budget to be handled accordingly, where we put serious issues on our drainage and eradicating the flood issues that are out there for us. Just wanted to say that before we get started. Got any other issues you need to go on? Don't write anything vulgar here. I see what you're doing. You're over. I was trying to think which district probably was least hit. Mr. Laverdane probably flooding was Mr. Laverdane. Areas was hit.
Right, 4 different areas.
You guys hit, I know. Mr. Goins, I think every district will touch. Only Mr. Laverdane is the least.
Okay, I think I'm almost there.
Okay. One day we're gonna get us and you can see technology is kicking in now. We're gonna get us a permanent notebook where we can keep it up there.
Having been practicing engineering here for
The lights for us.
over 30 years, this drainage interests me from the standpoint of things I've already designed that obviously I'm a big concern about whether they flood or not, but just interest in the subject alone. And so after Gustav, I put this together. This is not an intensive study. It's something I put together in about a day. And I was asked to come here to present it. It won't take long. Hopefully it'll be informative. We've got Alexandria here that I think, let me get my pointer. Everybody recognizes Alexandria. And this drainage concept associated with the macro drainage, you need to really kind of understand that the Red River is over here along the edge, and it has over thousands of years meandered between these yellow lines in the uplands. And in the process of doing so, it's formed what's called alluvial ridges. And this is an alluvial ridge. I've digitally elevated the water to 75 feet above sea level. And you can see an alluvial ridge, which is a path where when this stream would overflow in old times, the sediments, the heavy sands would settle out, and these lands are higher. They're called natural levees. And Alexandria is built, that's Alexandria, it's built right on top of an alluvial ridge. And the reason people live there is they didn't flood. This ridge runs along now, along what is known as Bayou Robert. And these highlands didn't flood except when the river really got to real high levels. And for that reason, levees were constructed along the river for common sense reasons. And they prevented these uplands from flooding. But what they did not do was allow drainage in the low areas to get into the river. These low areas flood because of localized rains, and the flooding problem in these green areas was caused by river levels getting high due to rainfall events that were normally far upstream from us, not things that occurred in Rapides Parish. Then when the levee was constructed, it blocked off a bunch of the bayous that would flow to the river. These are not little bayous. Every time it would, you get a heavy rain and these bayous are blocked off, the water that would normally flow to the river when the river is lower than the land, they'd function properly to drain it. And Willow Glen area is one area, and I kind of suspect maybe it was known when it was developed because the Glen, by definition, is a small remote valley, and willows growing in it might mean a small remote valley that gets a lot of water. And millions have been spent to solve the drainage problems, such as Harshen Drainage Canal, Chatelain Lake Canal, and Charles Park. But we still flood. These areas flood. It's interesting, my colors are red here and they're shaded gray up there. But anyway, these areas still flood fairly regularly. The following slide will show some of the areas where bayous naturally flowed into the river and are blocked by the levees.
Now, the areas you just showed, do they typically flood or they?
Well, take, is it Greenway Village at the South Circle? Typically, yes, I'd say typically floods. If I live there, I'd say it typically flooding. Water gets belly deep there all the time. Penny Acres. Charles Park floods. You know, a lot of the areas typical is subjective, so they typically flooded during Gustav, and I think flooded after that since then. But this bayou north of England Airport is big. These are big bayous, about as big as a bayou gets in this part of the state. And they're simply blocked off. Here's another one, which is Sandy Bayou, which is in the lower third area, completely blocked off by the levee. Now that bayou looks small now because it's silted in since it was blocked off and has no flow, and the sediments begin to block it. Doesn't look very big. There's the levee that blocks it. That's where that bayou just dead ends right into the levee. And it drained, historically, that entire area when the river was lower than the area. This is a kind of a 3D view of Sandy Bayou. There's some of the lined concrete ditches the city has put in over the year. Here's a sewage treatment plant. But there's Sandy Bayou, and it would go right there to the levee, and it was blocked by the levee right there. Water can't get out. So this whole area is at risk. Big picture is this. The levee system has prevented flooding of the uplands, but it has caused problems in the lower areas. There's a solution to that. Well, there are two solutions. There's a short-term solution and a long-term solution. The strategic goal is that we should have an overall solution to the problem and build on it, making sure that what we do uses the existing infrastructure to the maximum degree possible, and also the things that we do construct can be used in the future, big picture of things. And we just phase it and build it. And the interesting thing about this is that projects are continuously talked about being 10 million, 50 million, or the Alexandria to the Gulf project, 100 million. When I got out of school and came here practicing in 1976, studying engineers, the first thing I was handed was to work on a pumping station that's being worked on right now to pump water out of our side of the levee into the river. And we've been saving up to buy that Cadillac since 1976. And so what we need to do, what I think would be more productive for the community would be, yeah, let's keep our goals on that. That's a very good project. The Alexandria to the Gulf project is a very good project. But why wait? Why wait? We don't have to buy the whole shebang. We can use the infrastructure that we have constructively, innovatively, maybe even use it in reverse in some instances, and start tacking on to it in a very cunning way to take advantage of this good part of the curve of the law of diminishing returns and really get something out of this. Low-hanging fruit is what we need to go for right now. So what we really ought to do is consider constructing structures that will let some of this high water bleed off into the river when the river is low. If the river's not low, you don't even want to try to bleed the water off into the river because the river's going to come back in. In that situation, fine, leave it shut and let's stay with what we've got. But if we can use it part of the time, we need to be using it. And these levees prevent us from using it 100% of the time. If we could just use it half the time, it would be beneficial if it doesn't cost much. And it won't cost much. So we could construct the original the structures to gravity flow, and then later as we get money, or the Alexandria to the Gulf project comes, we put the pumps into place. The waters need to be going to the river. And during the recent flood, I don't know how to aim that down, but during the recent flood, the river was about 6 feet lower than the flooded areas down here on 3rd Street, right across the levee. People are in their house with water, playpens floating toward the front door, and the river is lower than their land. That is invaluable. Here is a gauge from the Red River taken during that time, and that number 65 right there tells me that the elevation of the river during Gustav was only about just under a foot higher than the normal pool. Yet we've got this deluge of rain. Why is that? It's because Red River does not get its elevation based upon rainfall events that happen in Rapides Parish. It gets things that happen upstream, just downstream from the Denison Dam, constructed in the 50s, and other tributaries coming in, and it builds up. Red River was at 65 when Charles Park had its problems right there. The elevation, I went out there and measured it, got it off the Corps of Engineers gauge. It was at about 65. The bayou, right at this location, by Rapides, up near the point, almost at Country Day School on the Hot Wells Road, was at about 68 feet. I measured that the day after Gustav. But water was in Charles Park approaching 74 feet. Why? How could that happen? Well, what really happened was that this pump station, and I'm sorry my colors aren't matching here with this, but you can see there was a pump station pumping, which functioned apparently adequately, pumping water out of Charles Park at a rate of about, I hadn't documented this, but as I recall, it was a 250,000 gallon minute pump station, pumping into this bayou right here. And this bayou, not the bayou, but the diversion canal. And the diversion canal didn't have anywhere to go. All the land to the south was flooded. There's no hydraulic gradient for it to flow. But this diversion canal is connected to Bayou Rapides. But there are two huge gates that were shut during Gustav. And the water in Bayou Rapides was considerably lower than that in the diversion canal. We could have bled off 800,000 gallons a minute out of the diversion canal into Bayou Rapides. Why didn't we? Actually, it would have been a big risk for the mayor to get involved in that. I'm not sure that he knew about it, but had he gotten involved in that, he would have been ordering an operation of a public drainage system installed by others that had a protocol that said, don't do that. This canal was designed to take water off Bayou Rapides and go south for irrigation. And so, on the city's behalf, even if they knew about it, if they opened this, they're at risk of letting that water out because the system wasn't designed that way. Now, I'm here to say that I don't care which way it was designed. When you're in trouble, you need to figure out, maybe not Johnny on the spot at Gustav, but in the future, there needs to be a system to make this flow back. I brought this to the city's attention in around 1980, the first year that Ned was the mayor, and before the navigation project. He said that we don't need to be putting this pump station here, we need to be putting it here, or either up on the river. And I've known about this, and it was important to me because we designed.
Talk about where you're saying the pump station. You're talking about on the
either a supplement to the pump station over on the river by Rapides Hospital, or possibly right here at the intersection of the north end of the diversion canal with Bayou Rapides. You got a pump station here that pumps into something that's already full, and you got to be able to get the water out. Otherwise, you're gonna just.
Is that the Charles Park?
That's the Charles Park.
Yeah.
So, and here's the pump station. This is a slanted aerial view of it, and it's sitting here pumping into the canal, which got full at a rate of 250,000 gallons a minute. And at the same time, we were unable to, and you can't blame anybody for this because the protocol for operation did not call for it. we could have been letting off over 3 times as much water into Bayou Rapids than this pump station could pump. Couldn't let off any.
Mr. Willis, based on what you just stated, on that solution, getting that water out of there, what's the solution getting that water out of there?
Solution is I went to speak to the Red River Chaffalot Bible District the other day about this, and they are looking at getting these gates fixed and making sure that they can operate these things. And I have something that addresses that in just a second. I'll show you.
Mr. Johnson, just for the record, in December, on the December event, after discussions, and we've been talking to Frank and others, despite it being against the written protocol, I did order backflow, and we did backflow it into the bayou. So we went against the protocol, backflowed it down the diversion canal the other way. One gate malfunctions and doesn't work. That's the RAD. The other gate was open, and the water flowed directly into the Bayou Rapids and relieved the area quickly.
And I was out of town. I came in right after the rainfall event, and I called the mayor, and he called me back and said, let's get out to Charles Park. And I went out and I showed him and his public works people what was going on. And I can only give highest confidence about that. Everybody now knows about this situation.
And it's detailed in the news off reporting we did with Frank's talk.
Right. I went over with Mr. Wells, etc. Anyway, if this had been open, this water would have been pumping into here and then hauling tail over here to the river, big time, at the tune of 800,000 gallons a minute. There's also a weir in the bayou up here, and that weir was put in Bayou Rapids back when Red River was not navigable and it operated at lower stages. And so to prevent the bayou from getting dry, the weir was there to hold water in the bayou. And it cuts down on vegetation, allows better use for irrigation and just other uses of that navigable waterway. That weir is now pretty much in the way. Water was crashing. I took pictures of it. Water was just crashing over the top of that thing. And had it not been there, the water level back around in the diversion canal would have been even lower. Here's a solution that I have not discussed. I've discussed all this other in public, but I have not discussed this one. And I plan to at the Red River meeting on March 3rd. But this diversion canal goes way down to the south. And the concern is that if you open this gate and let a whole bunch of water this way, and you get a bunch of water this way, then you get a hurricane, you're worried about it coming back. And trust me, it will come back, and it was big time coming back when these gates were open. I measured it on Twin Bridges Road. What we need to do is consider putting a control structure right here so that once this water tries to come back, which would be against the protocol for the design of this canal, block it until ours gets out and then open it and let that come back. That's what you call hydrographic sequencing. Our water peaks, our flows peak much quicker because of this smaller area than the peak flows of this huge area to the south. It's kind of like letting the cat out of the house without letting the dog get in. That's what we need to do. And this would be a very inexpensive structure to construct. The next topic, real quick, and I'm going to go fast as I can. I don't have much more. Okay. This is the Horseshoe Drainage Canal. It starts on Twin Bridges Road. Most of you know where it is. It's a concrete line ditch. It starts on Twin Bridges Road just to the southwest of the end of Jackson Street Extension. And it goes over by Brame Junior High, right through the area just south of the South Traffic Circle. And then it heads over and it dumps out at Willow Glen area into the Chatelaine Lake Canal. It does not make it to the river. When the Chatelaine Lake Canal fills up, this canal can't flow. And all of you who've lived here, all of you who've lived here a long time, and you have seen after these big rains, the canal fills up and then water gets stagnant in it. It stays there and it can't bleed out because all of this water from here is flooding down to the south and the Chatelaine Lake Canal has nowhere to go. That area, Willow Glen area, Lower 3rd Street, is put at further risk because we are getting water there faster, getting more water there, more risk for that part of Alexandria. Also at risk is, I believe, the only school in Rapides Parish that flooded was Brame, which is right next to this great big fine 4.5 mile long canal. It flooded. And it also flooded again after Gustav. This I can't remember the name of the subdivision, I think it's Greenway Park. Flooded big time. It's right next to the canal. All of you have seen it right next there. And the reason that this canal is unable to prevent these from flooding is it does not have anywhere to go except Willow Glen.
What's the stop point then on the end of the canal?
It stops at the Chatelain Lake Canal.
I thought it went to Henson.
You have to find the lake though.
I thought it went to Henson and then into Chatelain.
Well, it's whatever the name of that stream is right there. It's either Henson or Chatelain Lake, but it's right down there where everything gets flat and the water can't get out. The solution, I hate this thing is doing this, not in these bright colors I put, but can you see that black line going there?
Okay.
The solution is to pick some route and dig a ditch over to the river. It does not have to be a Cadillac concrete line ditch. It also does not even need to be as deep as the Chatelain Lake Canal. The Chatelain Lake Canal, I'm sorry, as deep as the Horseshoe Drainage Canal. The Horseshoe Drainage Canal bottom is lower than the normal pool of Red River. The core holds Red River at 64 feet. The bottom of this thing is around 60. So this ditch leading out of here is a bleed-off ditch type operation, which could be at about, with a bottom of about 65 feet. So that when it ties into the river, you wouldn't have to excavate down lower than the pool and have to put coffer dams, and that's where your decimals start shifting on your construction. This thing would be nothing more than chopping through the levee of adequate width and putting some type of shallow gate structure like they use in New Orleans, or you can even go to Jonesville and look at this, where there's a way for that water to get out of there when the river is not above the ground.
Sir, let me stop you real quick.
Yes.
How long are you talking about building the area?
The distance?
The distance. How far?
7,400 feet.
Okay, and how much would that cost the city?
It depends on what kind of ditch you do. If I owned this, if this were mine and I was one making a decision, there's no way I'd put a concrete ditch. I would dig a canal and I'd be digging it sooner.
Okay.
If you dug a canal, your biggest cost is probably going to be to acquire the property, and there's plenty of room to get through there. And it might be maybe $1 million.
Okay, and that canal can pull water from the Prescott area all the way over to Lower Third. Could it also relieve the Lower Third problems?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. I think I have it on the slide in a second. The Lower Third can get into it too, because this thing connects to that concrete line ditch that comes through there, so it will alleviate that. I'm going to show you how it would work with East Sandy Bayou in just a second.
Please.
In fact, let me just show you now. The East Sandy Bayou is right there. It's been blocked off. This thing intersects it, so it can just ride with it. East Sandy Bayou is not very deep either, so we may be able to deepen some of it.
Yeah, because let me tell you, we're going to have to find a way to pull that water from that Brame area and get that Lower Third, because that Lower Third where Mr. Goins' district is very low. And that's something that I'm very concerned. We've got to get that water out those neighborhoods a lot quicker into that river.
This will work.
This will, you sure this will work?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I need to show you some more about this in a second. The important thing is the drain flooded about this much. If you can just do this much with that water,
Right.
and if the river is down 5 or 6 feet below, and you got water that can go into it by gravity during these times, that solves that. Now, your hurricane season is, I'm gonna go over it in a minute, but the hurricane season, the river's always low during hurricane season.
Mr. Willis.
Yes.
I'm sorry not to cut you off, but when you look at digging that ditch, you said not concrete, but you look at rock side.
Just an earth ditch.
A rough ditch. Now, you wouldn't have a problem with erosion from that ditch, would you?
Yes, sir, you would have a problem with erosion, but when you start to look at a value engineering standpoint with a ditch like this, such that if it were concrete and it were going to cost, say, $7 million to construct, what the city needs to do is look hard. First of all, earth ditches work. Earth ditches need maintenance. So is it not, for the purpose of this interim solution, would it not be better to dig this ditch, not line it, and buy you a fine piece of machinery for $200,000 instead of spending $7 million and maintain it until you get the money to do it? We need the outlet. Canals work. After all this concrete concrete stuff we put in, Chatelaine Lake Canal and all this, they drain into an earth ditch. These earth ditches clog up when they don't get enough flow. If the velocity is flowing 2 feet per second or greater, they don't clog up as bad.
If this, it almost sounds too simple.
It is so simple, it's ridiculous.
What gets me though is, I've heard the suggestions about pumping the water into the river. Certainly gravity drainage would be the best choice for as a cost. You're telling me this would probably accommodate most of the flooding, eliminate a lot of the flooding.
Yes, let me take, before we start talking about how frequent, I like to get to that part of the slide.
And we'll stop interrupting you. Start with me.
No, anyway, what we also do, let's say that the river's too high and we can't get water to it. Our worst case scenario is the status quo. And we've had the status quo since 1976. So let's say that we can't get water out. That's all right, let it go right here where it's been going, where it's going today. Penny Acres, I know that's not in the city, and so I'll go over it very quickly, but Penny Acres is here. I was interested in that from designing most of these subdivisions in this region. Didn't want to affect Penny Acres. Penny Acres has 50 houses that flood about once every 7 years. It has been estimated that the solution to that problem previously by others was close to $2 million. Value engineered approach indicated by me indicates different. If I simulate the flood levels coming up to the 100-year flood level, shaded in blue, you will find that these are the houses that flood. There are about 50 of them. And I don't know if you've been out there to see this, they flood about more than anybody, and it is a miserable sight.
Pay for it.
That in Greenway Park.
Yeah. The
used to be killing me.
But there's an exceedingly simple solution to this. What we need to do is put a little dike, and I'm not talking about a dike that looks like a river. I'm talking about a dike that's about this high, that is running from the area that doesn't flood down the western side of Penny Acres and back down to Highway 1, the Lake Charles Highway. And we can let Lake Charles Highway act as a dam on the eastern side. We've got to make a few little sealant modifications on a few catch basins here, but that will function. The backwater comes in generally after the peak rain. It's this cat, dog, door situation. So what we could do without a pump is just have little gates that are open, let the cat out and shut them before the dog gets in, and we prevent flooding right here. And worst case, we might put a retention pond, and if necessary for the Cadillac solution, put a pump there in the future. That would solve the problem. It's only 14,000 yards of dirt that would need to be hauled. I spoke with Dr. Davis, Miss Fran Davis, who had a lot of clay available. She was willing to donate this to the city of Alexandria. The owners of the property said they'd give the servitude, that's Bellina Farms, to construct this thing. It's not in the city, so I won't go into any more detail. The philosophy of hydrologic design is different from standard engineering design. It's one of the most important things that frequently gets overlooked. If you're designing an airplane wing as an engineer, you got to design it so that it won't break. Water drainage is different. You cannot design drainage big enough economically to say you will never flood, Alexandria is never going to flood, period. You can't do it, it's too expensive. So there's a trade-off, and that's where terms like 100-year floodplain, 500-year floodplain come into play, is because you're starting to deal with gambling odds or probabilities of catastrophic events. A failure of an airplane wing is catastrophic. A flood that floods some houses is catastrophic to the people that flood, but it's not a catastrophe for the entire municipality. So using that concept, there is a curve called the law of diminishing returns, but it's also a major part in people who understand developments of what we call factors of safety, over-design in order to take care of something. This building has a factor of safety of 1.7, which means it can handle 70% more than anything that would ever get in it. Otherwise, if a canary let on the roof, it would fall. For a water system, for hydraulics, you don't do it that way. You design it for what it is, and then live with whatever factor of safety you can come up with, and you set your project that way. For some reason, not this current administration, we are fortunate to have this current administration who is proactive in all this stuff, but from almost my entire career, this has been grossly neglected. Not from a professional negligence standpoint, but just decisions that are made for infrastructure are not done based on procedures that would be most innovative for this town. Here's a quick example. If you have a project that would solve the drainage, and it was going to cost $100 million, for example, I think that's the price for the Alexandria to the Gulf project, let's assume that would give us 100% protection for $100 million. But if we had a project that would protect us 80% of the time and only cost $10 million, you see how those ratios are beneficial to us? This is the steep part of the law of diminishing returns curve. We need to be taking better advantage of this. We need to pick the low-hanging fruit. The city has been operating right here. We're not getting not a result, and we're spending a fortune. It's time for a change. One of the things that might need to happen is that you need to realize that there are 4 entities here that have something to do with the drainage. The City of Alexandria, Rapides Parish Police Jury, Gravity Drainage District number 3, and also the Red River Chapel Isle, whatever the name of it is, that operates the diversion canal. I don't know much about Gravity Drainage District 3, but I know about the City of Alexandria. You've got to give the position and the concern 100% A+. The levee district is the same way, and I can tell you personally from Rapides Parish, it's the same way. And I'm sure Gravity District 3 is the same way. The problem is that the mayor's having to deal with, I got to go to the Gravity Drainage District to get them to open this gates and do things backwards. Oh my gosh, what if it causes something to backfire? You have those problems. If these communities had somebody with a broad knowledge who was interested in helping to coordinate it, to use this stuff in a really fun and constructive way, to just really start using that law of diminishing returns curve, get the low-hanging fruit, value engineer and challenge people when they over-design things, and not be the dictator, but just the one that will stimulate conversation to optimize things in all of our best interests. We really need that in Rapides Parish. Dialogue is necessary. The existing drainage systems can remain in place and function just like they are designed. You do not need to scrap anything. It's all usable. The engineering design on all this stuff has been excellent. It's just a matter of putting the functionality together. I'm almost at the end. Basically, the issue of what are the levels of the river and how they affect us are a big issue. Like, you don't want to try to drain to something that's got water in it more than you do. You get flushed. So I did a statistical check, a time series statistical analysis. It's since 1935. And during the hurricane season, which I think is from the 1st of June to about the end of the year, the water in the Red River has been above 68 feet only 4.4% of the time. And of those 584 days, during the peak months of the hurricane season, all of us know that August, September, and October, when we're going to catch a hurricane, it was only over 68 feet, 8 days.
That's 1935.
Yes, that's 8 over 11,100 days. That's 500-year flood type protection for during those 3 months by gravity, statistically. We need to take advantage of it. We don't need to wait for a $100 million pumping station. Good if we get it, but don't wait. Let's get a bleed off right here. If the peak hurricane months, this is just the same thing. That's 500-year statistical difference right there. We need not to be right here. We need to be up on the top. So that's all I have. This is all voluntary from my standpoint. Last time I was here, I was talking about the water treatment plant that I thought we shouldn't do. And I appreciate you inviting me to come.
Yeah, I remember that. Thank you. That's right, you changed. And I know, Mr. David, I want to preface this, and I'm sorry for pushing you, because I know you have a pressing engagement.
I have a 5:30 hearing that I have to attend, but Mr. Lawson, I had, I'll say over the years, Mr. Wilson and I have been very good competitors. And I'd have to say what he has said tonight, the meeting that I was going to get you to come see, and I was going to go through about 90% of the stuff we were going to tell you. This is grassroots, basic logic on how to solve a problem. I thought he did an awesome job. I have no criticisms. There's maybe a tweak here, a tweak there that we can say, what do you think? But I mean, I thought it was a great presentation and saved you time from coming to see the thing.
I still want to see it.
And two independent, I've never seen his presentation. I have never seen his presentation, and the presentation that I was going to do on a Saturday morning to show you is about 90% of that. So two like minds thinking alike, I think we're on the same path.
Before you leave,
put you on the spot with something else.
Dangerous there.
while you're here, have you got 2 minutes to just highlight what we've been talking about for months on the Lewis Berry Camille Gravel deal?
Yes, sir. Okay. I'm still working on that. My daughter has gotten prices for the sign package on the court, on the exterior. So we're asking, I haven't got the prices back, so I don't know what they're gonna look like, but we're about 2 weeks into asking for those prices. When the prices come, I'll at least have the exterior sign package figured out, then the remaining thing will be getting the plaque and actual wording of the plaque. That'll be the trick. So I'd say in a week, we ought to have a price back, at least we can look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tommy.
I'd like to thank both Tommy and Frank for being here and highlighting those things for us. I think it gives us a much better understanding of how our drainage works, and it was in terms that I think even the council could understand. So thank you.
I wanted to make sure folk understand that the council's not just listening, we're trying to act. What you saw is an action plan, and I think what you're gonna see without a doubt from this council is putting up the money to solve the problem. And I appreciate the two of you guys bringing solution. I think it's a lot.
Can I say something real quick? Is there anybody from the administration in regards to the maintenance inspection documentation? Okay. There's nobody here? From the administration in regards to the maintenance inspection documentation? Nobody's here?
You have a whole